Hello, Worship Tribe. I'm excited to be talking about the Nashville number system today. Many of you are asking, what on earth is it and how do we use it? So today I've got my friend Jessie from Scotland. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Jessie, before you dive into our question today.
I live in Scotland, but I'm not from Scotland. I'm from London. I'm the worship pastor of the Kingdom Vineyard in East Fife, based in St Andrews and the surrounding area. And I play a lot of music in a lot of different contexts, and this is just one of the things that has been really useful to me.
And Jessie does a lot of the teaching at our worship intensives as well. So we're excited to have you unpack this for us. There's numbers, there's a lot happening here. Jessie, firstly, what is the Nashville number system?
It's simply an alternative form of notation. So many people will be familiar with the names of notes. All we're doing is assigning numbers to those notes. And the reason why we do that will become apparent as we continue to look at this.
Then please continue.
Right, okay,
Enlighten
well,
us.
So basically, every key that a song is set in is going to have a certain number of chords normally available to us. In the key of G, these are the 7 chords that are normally available to us. All we do is assign a number to those chords depending on the position that they're in. So we've just simply numbered them 1 through 7 to the top. When there's a minor or a different kind of variation on the chord, we use a little symbol like a dash to indicate minor. Other things like slash chords that you'll be familiar with when you emphasize a different note in the bass are just used exactly the same way. So a 3 you might play as a B minor, but you might play it as a G with a B in the bass. So we just say 1 over 3, just the way we would say G over B. Similar with the 7th note, which is, if you were to play it as a normal chord, it would actually be an unusual diminished chord or half diminished chord. We normally don't do that. We normally play a D with an F sharp in the bass instead, and so we would notate like that. So that's basically the system. And when you see notes written as numbers, you can then sort of map them onto whatever scale you're using, whatever key you're using.
So tell us why we would want to do that.
Yeah, it's a good question because you don't want to just make work for yourself, right?
Exactly. Busy worship leaders here.
Yeah.
What's the value in actually learning a bit about this?
There's a few reasons to do this. One is so that you learn to hear the relationships between chords, so that you're not simply um, reading the notes off of the page and not understanding that they actually have common relationships with one another. So you might see a number of chord charts that have G, C, and D in it, and then you might get a chord chart in another key that's in A, and those notes will be different, but they will actually map onto the same numbers. So you begin to hear the difference between a 1, 2, a 4, and a 1, 2, a 5, and you're training your ear to hear those differences, and then you can apply that knowledge, that structural knowledge, to whatever key that you're playing in. That's one of the things that I like about it. The other thing is, practically with my worship team, I can print off one chord chart that applies in any key. And if that is available in a folder or on an iPad to anyone in my team, I can take the opportunity to spontaneously shift into any song that's in our repertoire in whatever key we happen to be in. So I don't have to make an uncomfortable transition to a different key. I can play it in the same key with the full security that my band have a chord chart that they can apply their playing to. So essentially, this enables us to have our entire repertoire in a single folder or collection of documents and be able to play them in any key. That's it.
And that does come in handy, doesn't it, in a worship set?
I've found that it does come in handy. Suddenly you want to launch into a song and you would normally play it in one key, but you are currently in another key. You want to flow from one thing to the next, and you want the band to follow with you. They might not be that familiar with the song that they can play it just by ear or by memory, and so they have a chart that they can just shift key into.
But you're also saying that using this over a period of time develops an ear so
Yeah.
that perhaps one could begin to play more by ear, even just by using the system. Do you think
I think that's right.
fair?
I think that people can sort of begin to hear common transitions from chord to chord and just instinctively go there because they have it not only mapped to a key, but they actually have it mapped on their instrument. They can hear where it's going and they know where it's going because of that relationship between two different chords.
So I think it's useful both in terms of having a bit more technical musical understanding
Yeah.
about the theory of music.
Yeah.
Plus, then what you're saying is that it opens up a bit more flow. So it actually
Yeah.
enables a responsiveness to the spirit
believe
potentially,
so.
just because you're able to just kind of turn on a dime, shift
Right.
keys, and people can come with you.
Yeah,
That's what you're saying.
absolutely.
Great. Okay,
Absolutely.
tell us a bit more about this, Jesse. You have another page as well. I'm
I do
excited
have-
to see
I do
the
have
next
another
page.
So one of the ways that you'll normally see a chord chart written is with the chords written above the words of the song. So, for example, this song actually spends quite a lot of time on a single word. So you might see that written as G, B minor, C. Maybe here you would have G, D, and C. When you see that written, you don't know how long you're playing any of those chords for at any given time. You need to actually know how the song goes before you're going to know how long you play those chords for. Sometimes you're able to map it onto syllables, but here we only have 2 syllables and 3 chords, so it's a little bit difficult to work out the timing of this. One of the great things about the Nashville number system is that you can actually not just indicate a chord, but indicate the timing of that chord. So here, if I wrote, these chords would be written as 1, and then a 3 minor, and then a 4. And then the way this system works is a single chord on its own occupies a whole bar, but chords that are underlined share a bar. So here, you've already got the timing mapped out. You've got 2 beats on the first chord, 2 beats on the 3 minor, and 4 beats on the 4. So you can actually, once you've set the tempo and you see that, you can play this song without ever having heard it before.
That is incredible, isn't it?
So it does mean that with teams that perhaps don't have the free time to learn 100 or so songs from the ones that any given worship leader has in the back of their minds, they're not restricted by not having heard the song before and sort of following slavishly to learn where the words are going to be so that they know where to drop the chords.
That's very handy. And how would we begin to implement something like this into our teams? For those of us that are keen to actually try this out.
So there's 2 stages that I would sort of move through. One is, first of all, just connecting chords with numbers. And sometimes you can do that with software. So, for example, if you have software that has lyrics and chords written just like this, you can get it, as well as to change key sometimes, you can get it to choose the Nashville number system as a key system. So that will just change that to a 1. That will just change that to a 3 minor, and so on. So you've gone sort of one step in the direction of using Nashville numbers. The second thing that you would need to do, and I don't know of any software package that does this, so it does require a little bit more of preparation. All of the chord charts that I have for my team are formatted with the music and then the lyrics, and then the music and then the lyrics for any given section. And that means that if you're a bassist, you don't actually have to pay a great deal of attention to where the words are landing because you've got all of the timing and all of the chords mapped out for you. So 2 different stages. You can use existing chord charts if you're using a digital package that allows you to just change the key to Nashville. That will leave you with a familiar format of just hanging over the lyrics, or map out your own chord charts. It's a little bit extra work, but I found I did it once and I don't have to do it again.
So are people generally receptive, do you think, in a worship team? So this has come up. There can be a bit of
Yeah,
skepticism or,
yeah,
oh, please don't burden me with a
yeah,
whole new way of thinking.
yeah. Absolutely. It can be daunting when you see a bunch of numbers that you've never seen. I introduced it to my team all in one go. I said, from day X, we are operating off of this system. And I showed them a helpful manual that I'd written, which I can make available. Um, it simply, what I think happens is that it appeals to knowledge that people already have. So it looks really scary at first, but it's actually something people know, but they don't know that they know. So that can help to ease them. Um, Also, just, yeah, give people time to play things simpler for a while without embellishment, just playing the changes, getting used to the varying positions as they relate to one another on their instrument. But I would also just emphasize the benefits, emphasize the fact that this will help us to go more places. This will help us to flow more as a team. It will help you to hear even some of the sort of random transitions that we put in between songs. I'm going from the one to the four to the one to the four. I can do that easier with my fingers than I can make an A and a D. I don't really know how to do that.
Right,
So,
right.
so there's a lot that we can communicate to one another in those sort of tight moments that we wouldn't have been able to do. So there's a lot of benefit to it, and I think that as long as you don't pretend that it's going to be all simple and easy, I think your people will come with you.
Hey, Jesse, thank you so much. That was really helpful. And whether that's the right tool for you and your team right now, my challenge to you would be, what is something that you and your team could do to grow and develop? We want to keep growing. We don't ever want to stay stuck or complacent. We're always on a journey of growth, both technically and spiritually. And then, of course, the challenge is what is right for you and your team, and you need to discern that. So do keep learning and growing, and we'll see you again next month.